Most people walk into their workplace believing it runs on logic, fairness, and merit. They assume competence is rewarded, honesty is respected, and effort naturally leads to advancement. But beneath the polite smiles, company policies, and motivational posters lies a truth that almost no one dares to say out loud. Every workplace is a battlefield disguised as a meeting room, a silent struggle for influence, attention, and psychological leverage. And whether you choose to play the game or not, you are already inside it. Machiavelli understood this long before the modern world existed. He wrote that people are not moved by fairness or truth. They are moved by perception, fear, desire, and insecurity. The one who understands these forces does not simply survive, they ascend. The one who ignores them becomes invisible. Imagine an employee who lives in that invisibility. Someone who shows up early, leaves late, completes every assignment, but remains unnoticed. Their boss barely looks at them during meetings. Colleagues interrupt them without consequence. Promotions pass them by like shadows. This employee believes the system is broken, but the truth is simpler and far more uncomfortable. They have no power because they have not learned how people construct the illusion of it. Over time, this person begins to observe instead of complain. They notice how the boss favors those who appear confident even when they contribute little. They notice how the office troublemaker somehow avoids blame by shifting narratives. They notice how one coworker with average skills is treated as exceptional simply because they understand how to be seen. Slowly, the overlooked employee discovers that power is not about dominance. It is about perception. It is about shaping the mental image others hold of you. And Machiavelli believed there is a single psychological tactic that flips this image instantly, a trick so subtle that it never looks like manipulation, a tactic that transforms someone from forgettable to formidable, from overlooked to strategically important. This realization becomes their turning point, not through confrontation, not through rebellion, but through understanding the quiet mechanics of influence, through seeing what others are too distracted to notice, through using a method that powerful people fear precisely because they cannot defend against it. Machiavelli wrote that the world is ruled not by those who are the strongest or the smartest, but by those who grasp the hidden currents of human nature. Talent matters, but perception decides everything. And the person who controls perception, their own and others, reshapes the hierarchy without anyone realizing it happened. This section ends with the central mystery that sets the stage for everything that follows. There is one trick, one principle, one psychological move that Machiavelli believed could quietly tilt the balance of power into your hands. A method that requires no status, no authority, no permission, just insight. What is this trick? Why does it work so reliably? And why do those in power fear it more than anything else? The answers lie ahead, buried in the unspoken rules of influence that govern your life, whether you see them or not. To understand power, Machiavelli argued, you must first understand people, not the idealized version of them, not the version moral philosophies like to describe, but the real version, the flawed, fearful, inconsistent creature who hides behind masks yet reacts with startling predictability when pressured. According to Machiavelli, human beings are not primarily guided by virtue. They are guided by fear, survival, and the quiet, relentless pursuit of self-interest. It is only by seeing this clearly that a person begins to understand how influence truly operates. People fear uncertainty more than anything else. This fear shapes nations, companies, families, and personal interactions. Workers cling to routines, managers cling to control, and organizations cling to appearances of stability. When something or someone disrupts that feeling of stability, even slightly, an instinctive reaction emerges: protect the status quo. It is why bosses micromanage. It is why colleagues resist change. It is why truth-tellers are punished and conformists are rewarded. The world is built not on fairness, but on the avoidance of discomfort. Machiavelli believed that if you can see this hidden architecture of insecurity, you gain a kind of psychological X-ray vision. You begin to predict behavior before it happens. You notice how people reveal themselves when they feel threatened. You notice how even the most confident individuals secretly rely on fragile external validation. And it is here, in this gap between who people pretend to be and who they are, that strategic advantage is born. Machiavelli's sharpest observation was that people reveal their true character when they believe no one is watching. A boss who preaches teamwork but hoards opportunities. A coworker who smiles in meetings but undermines others in private. A friend who claims loyalty but shifts alliances when something better appears. None of these are accidents. They are expressions of deeper psychological forces. This understanding translates directly into the modern workplace. Organizations reward predictability because predictable people are easier to control. A predictable employee follows orders, never questions authority, and stays in the same place for years. Predictability is comfortable for those in power, but dangerous for those seeking it. Machiavelli insisted that being predictable means surrendering your ability to shape outcomes. When people think they know exactly how you'll react, they can manipulate your every move. At the core of Machiavellian psychology lies one radical idea. Influence is created through perception, not brute force. People don't need to be controlled physically. They only need to believe they should respect you. They don't need to fear punishment. They only need to sense that you are not dependent on their approval. The subtle shifts in how others perceive your independence can completely rearrange social hierarchies. This is where most individuals unintentionally give away their power, by needing too much. They need validation. They need recognition. They need approval from those above them. And the moment you need something from someone, you hand them leverage. You place your emotional stability in their hands. You become easy to predict, easy to overlook, easy to dismiss. But Machiavelli's trick begins with the opposite movement. The less you need, the more powerful you become. Independence, psychological independence, creates an aura that people instinctively respond to. When you no longer chase approval, people begin to offer it to you. When you stop trying to impress, others begin to wonder about you. When you detach from the need to please, the dynamic shifts silently in your favor. This sets the stage for what comes next, the subtle mental shift that allows a subordinate to become more powerful than their superior without breaking a single rule or speaking a single confrontational word. The method is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is not rebellious. It is psychological. And when practiced correctly, the people above you never realize how or when they lost control. Power, Machiavelli believed, does not belong to the loudest voice in the room. It belongs to the one everyone is quietly trying to figure out. In every hierarchy, from empires to corporations, from royal courts to modern offices, the most influential person is rarely the one who speaks the most. It is the one who reveals the least. Machiavelli understood a truth that most people still fail to grasp. The moment others can predict you, they can control you. Predictability is the death of influence. When your reactions, thoughts, fears, and ambitions are obvious, you become transparent. and transparency is weakness in any power structure. But when you introduce controlled ambiguity, you shift from being easily defined to subtly intimidating. People fear what they cannot fully read. Imagine an ordinary worker who has spent years oversharing. They explain every choice they make, justify every decision, and constantly seek reassurance. Their boss barely looks at them during meetings. Colleagues interrupt them without consequence. Promotions pass them by like shadows. This employee believes the system is broken, but the truth is simpler and far more uncomfortable. They have no power because they have not learned how people construct the illusion of it. Over time, this person begins to
Emotional independence is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. To the outside world, it looks like confidence, it looks like strength, it looks like a mind that cannot be bent, a spirit that cannot be shaken, and a presence that cannot be ignored. But underneath this illusion lies something far simpler, the ability to need nothing from anyone. This is where the transformation becomes psychological, not tactical. The once overlooked employee who used to shrink themselves to fit in begins moving through the workplace with a calm, measured presence. They no longer seek reassurance, praise, or validation. They no longer rush to fill silence or soften tension. They speak only when necessary, and when they do, every word is intentional. Their posture changes, their tone becomes grounded, their pace slows, their energy steadies, and slowly, almost invisibly, the dynamic flips. The boss, who once barely registered their existence, begins to notice small things. The employee's calm neutrality becomes oddly captivating. Their self-contained demeanor forces others to adjust around them. Their lack of emotional need creates an aura of quiet superiority, not because they claim power, but because they have stopped giving it away. Modern psychology explains this phenomenon with remarkable clarity. The person who is least desperate automatically becomes the most valued. In social hierarchies, people unconsciously assign higher status to those who appear emotionally self-sufficient. Humans instinctively respect what seems selective, contained, and unattainable. Approval that is freely given is ignored. Approval that is withheld becomes desirable. This is the mirror effect. People begin to treat you according to how you treat yourself. When you need nothing, you signal abundance. When you seek nothing, you signal authority. And when you stop chasing validation, others start chasing it from you. Machiavelli wrote that leaders gain influence not by being universally liked, but by cultivating an image of inner stability. People follow those who seem unaffected by external chaos. They trust those who do not panic. They admire those who remain composed in moments of pressure. Emotional neutrality becomes a silent form of dominance. This principle doesn't just apply to workplaces. It governs friendships, romantic relationships, family dynamics, and social groups. The one who appears the most emotionally self-contained gains an elevated status. Their silence becomes meaningful. Their approval becomes valuable. Their presence becomes influential. Modern behavioral science reinforces this with remarkable clarity. Withholding approval, intentionally or naturally, creates psychological gravity. People are drawn toward those who remain selectively distant. They internalize this distance as superiority, even when there is no real difference in skill, authority, or position. The overlooked employee becomes a living example of this transformation. Their calmness makes them appear wiser. Their silence makes them appear more competent. Their lack of desperation makes them appear more powerful. Without raising their voice, without demanding recognition, without fighting for position, they ascend. And ironically, the boss, the one who once held all the power, begins to seek something unexpected: the employee's respect. The subtle shift in dynamic is undeniable. The emotional tables have turned. The superior becomes the seeker. The subordinate becomes the standard. Machiavelli would argue that this reversal is not a coincidence. It is the natural consequence of emotional detachment. The person who needs nothing is feared. The person who chases nothing is respected. And the person who stands alone, without seeking approval, gains a form of power that even authority cannot manufacture. When you need nothing, you control everything. Power, in its most subtle form, begins long before dominance is shown. It begins with presence and the quiet refusal to give away your emotional center. When Machiavelli examined courts filled with jealousy, ambition, and fragile egos, he noticed something peculiar. The individuals who seemed to need nothing were the ones everyone watched. Not because they were loud, not because they were wealthy, but because their restraint created mystery, and mystery created power. This same principle functions today in places we rarely expect: in offices, classrooms, meetings, interviews, friendships, and even family dynamics. The world unconsciously bends toward those who remain composed. People instinctively respect those who cannot be easily rattled, pressured, or emotionally read. And this gives rise to a modern, Machiavellian strategy that anyone can use ethically: the art of controlling the frame by controlling yourself. Imagine walking into a job interview. Most candidates over-explain, rush their words, and try to sound impressive. But the person who speaks slowly, thinks before responding, and shows zero desperation instantly flips the psychological script. The interviewer subconsciously assumes competence, not because of the resume, but because of the behavior. Calmness under evaluation suggests that you are used to being evaluated, and that changes everything. In team settings, the same principle applies. Many people command attention through volume, enthusiasm, or constant participation. But the strongest presence often comes from the individual who listens first, speaks later, and chooses their words with intention. When you talk only to add value, people attribute weight to every sentence. You become the person whose silence is noticeable, and whose approval becomes something others naturally seek. When dealing with a controlling manager, this approach becomes even more powerful. Controlling personalities feed on emotional reactions. They push, provoke, and test boundaries to see who they can dominate. But when you respond without defensiveness, when you acknowledge without submission, when you remain calm even when they expect you to crumble, you shatter their script. They cannot control what they cannot predict. Over time, the dynamic shifts. They start moderating their tone, softening their demands, even reconsidering their behavior, not because you fought back, but because you stopped giving them emotional leverage. In conversations, your perceived value rises when you refuse to chase validation. The moment you stop trying to be interesting, you become interesting. When you stop trying to convince, you become convincing. When you stop trying to impress, you radiate confidence. Humans instinctively move toward emotional stability, because stability signals strength. Silence, too, becomes a tool. Not the passive-aggressive kind, but purposeful silence that shows you are not hurried, overwhelmed, or insecure. Silence gives weight to your presence. It forces others to think. It allows you to choose your next move instead of reacting impulsively. And most importantly, it prevents people from reading your intentions, which protects you from manipulation. In a world where people overshare their emotions, oversell their abilities, and overexpose their vulnerabilities, restraint becomes a superpower. The less emotionally readable you are, the harder it becomes for others to control you. Emotional independence doesn't mean coldness, it means clarity. It means you understand where your power comes from, not from titles, not from status, but from the ability to remain centered when everyone else is scrambling for approval. Machiavelli's lesson is simple. You don't need authority to hold power. You need presence. You need patience. You need the strength to let your silence speak louder than the noise around you. When you master these traits, you stop being someone who reacts to power and become someone who quietly commands it. Power doesn't always enter the room wearing a crown. Sometimes it walks in quietly, unnoticed, underestimated, almost invisible. And yet it is this invisible presence that slowly shapes the atmosphere, alters the tone of conversations, and influences decisions without ever demanding recognition. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology gave it language. He saw that real authority does not rest on the person who issues commands, but on the person others instinctively adjust themselves around. This kind of power is subtle, almost silent, yet undeniably strong. It comes from the individual who has mastered the art of being unmoved, by praise, by pressure, by the shifting moods of those in charge. Strategic mystery is the first layer of this transformation. When people cannot fully grasp you, they begin to fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. They project strength, competence, and depth onto the silent spaces you leave open. The less you explain yourself, the more significance your presence carries. Mystery invites respect because it forces others to guess rather than judge. Emotional independence strengthens this effect. A person who is not seeking approval becomes magnetic because dependency is the norm. Most people bend their speech, their posture, and even their identity to gain acceptance. So when someone walks through the world without constant reinforcement, they begin to set the emotional tone of the environment. Others unconsciously mirror their calm because humans instinctively look for psychological anchors. Then comes controlled silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. It is weight. It is a signal that you are not hurried, overwhelmed, or insecure. Silence gives weight to your presence. It forces others to think. It allows you to choose your next move instead of reacting impulsively. And most importantly, it prevents people from reading your intentions, which protects you from manipulation. When these